Ranger Point Precision friends and family. We've got a Henry Long Ranger and Long Ranger Express trigger and sear installation video. Let's go. So here is our trigger kit. This is the Henry trigger kit. It fits the Long Ranger and Long Ranger Express as well as our center fire rifles. So this right here, we're going to be installing it on the Long Ranger Express today, and the procedure will be the same as for the Long Ranger. Now disregard this sexy M-LOK free-floated forearm we got here. That's also available on our website. If you're a little bit jealous of all that M-LOK, you might go to check it out. So now we're going to go ahead and do our safety check. Make sure that this thing is empty. Let's remove the magazine. Let's open the bolt, inspect our chamber because we need to be responsible for ourselves and those around us. So now that we don't have any live ammunition within our wingspan or in the gun, we can proceed. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is removing the butt pad. Now this butt pad is going to be very simple to remove, but I have got one small tip that I like to use. My buddy Mark Novak taught me. A rubber butt pad kind of wants to get chewed up a little bit. So if you'll put just a little bit of oil, which I inadvertently got a little bit on my fingers just by touching the bottle. If you'll put a little bit of oil on your screwdriver tip, you won't chew it up. So now we're just going to remove these two screws right here. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So let's take our butt pad and set it aside. Now we're going to need a 3/16 Allen wrench. Yours doesn't have to be this big and fancy, just something that'll get in there and reach it. So let's go ahead and remove our bolt from our stock here. So that's loose. I'm just going to leave my bolt parked inside of that stock so I don't lose it. So let's set this aside. The next thing we're going to point our attention to is this coupler. Now this coupler does two things. It houses the mainspring and the mainspring piston, and as well as our buttstock screws into it. So now this coupler shouldn't need any tools. You should just be able to remove it. Now this is under spring pressure, so we don't want to lose anything. So there is our coupler and our mainspring. Then this is our mainspring piston. Set these aside. Now we're going to open the action. We're going to remove the trigger guard plate screw. And I have already got my flathead screwdriver ready for that. So this is our trigger guard plate screw. So we'll set this aside. This one is the short screw. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the next screw right here. This is going to be another trigger guard plate screw. Normally we'd call that the lever screw, but this Long Ranger and Long Ranger Express is of a different breed. So we're going to take our other screw, set it aside. Note that is the long one. And we're going to pull the whole assembly out just like that. So this is what we're all here for. We are now into the heart of the beast. So we're going to go ahead and remove our sear and spring, which actually, no, I might just leave that in the bag so I don't try to mistake them. So with our lever closed and locked, we're going to just go ahead and hit our trigger there, relieve the tension off of our hammer. The hammer can just slide forward as is. Now at this point, we're going to take a small punch. First thing we're going to do is take our sear spring. Sear spring just pops out like that. We'll set it aside. Then we've got a pin here that holds our sear in. So we're just going to take and push that out. We're going to take our sear and set it to the side. Now it's time to bring in our new sear and spring. So you notice we've got this little piece sitting right here. Our sear is going to sit right over the top of that. We're going to go ahead and push our roll pin back in. Boom, there we are. Now we've got to take our new spring. We've got a little stand right here. We're going to put our spring on that stand, and then it pushes down and latches on right there. So very simple. We've already installed our new sear and spring. Now this is the very critical part. If you do not do this correctly, your gun will not sit in battery correctly. The whole thing will be out of time. The first thing we're going to do is take our assembly here. We're going to push and make sure our lever is locked. We're going to have our stirrup pointing to the back and our hammer kind of upwards. We're going to take our other hand, we're going to push the bolt into place and hold it. That way the bolt is as far forward as it can go. And then as we're going in, this plunger right here has to stick through the hole where our coupler and our mainspring and mainspring piston are. The mainspring piston is actually what pushes on this and makes the hammer have its rebound. So we've got it in there. We take our finger. Yes, it is through the hole there. We can feel it. We're going to lock this in. And we're going to take our trigger guard screw. I know things are kind of getting complicated here, but we're going to hold that. Go ahead and lock this in. We have to keep our teeth meshed, or otherwise, like I said, we won't be in correct time. So let's go ahead and get this in here. Now we're going to have to keep this mashed down. So keep your trigger guard plate mashed down. This is, like I said, where we get tricky. We have to keep that pushed down. Let's go with our short screw that we removed earlier. Go ahead and put it in. So now we've got that in place. So let's go ahead and check. Boom. If the bolt is flush with the back of the receiver, just like that, we have done our jobs correctly. So we are sitting pretty. Now in this time, we have cocked our hammer. We're going to have to go ahead and relieve our hammer. Now our next area of attention is back here in this hole again. You know, we did have our struts poking through this hole. I can feel it with my finger. So right here on your mainspring plunger, there's a little divot. That little divot is going to line up with that plunger. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our coupler, our mainspring, and our piston there, our plunger. We're going to go ahead and get this centered in the hole. And I'm going to use my thumb as a little bit of tension to keep this aligned. So the hammer moves forward. And then I just take the coupler and mainspring and we'll go righty-tighty. So there should be no tools, no Loctite or anything like that. We'll just screw this right into the back of the receiver. And now we are done. So let's check for proper function of our hammer. Lay the hammer back, the hammer cocks. We fire. Boom! Time to go back on with our stock. I never removed the screw. So we'll just slide it right here onto the rear of the receiver. We're going to take our 3/16 yet once again and go ahead and tighten that up. Like I said, that bolt goes into that coupler. So that coupler does two things. It retains the stock and the mainspring. So there we've got that. Let's go ahead and take our butt pad. We're going to have to throw just a little bit of oil back on the end of our screwdriver. Again, like I said, we don't want to go screwing up that butt pad a whole bunch. This just simply removes some of the friction there. So we'll go ahead and put this back on. And this is just a number 2 Phillips bit. We're going to go righty-tighty. And boom. There we are. So now we have got it. Let's go ahead and function test this thing yet again. Open the lever, close the lever. Bolt is flush with the rear of the receiver. Pull the trigger. Ooh, yeah, that is very nice. I dig it.